warm welcome to Air Cargo India, 11th edition, 20th year of Air Cargo India, 40th year of the Stat Trade Times. And for me as a journalist, when I look back, I think this is the best time to be a reporter, logistic coverage, reporter, journalist covering global supply chains. And I think you can't ask for a better time. With that note, it's a pleasure having Pravin Singh on board and on perhaps the first interview on stage after the unveiling of Riyadh Cargo as the cargo brand identity of the Riyadh Air. Pravin, thank you for making this. Really appreciate you coming on for this interview. I think I know you since last few years, and this is one brand Riyadh Cargo is one brand that I had been following quite some time since the Riyadh Air was launched, and great to see Riyadh Cargo in this venue. We're going to talk about the cargo brand identity, Saudi Vision 2030, and that's the context and how does Riyadh Cargo actually contributes to the realization of Saudi Vision 2030. Leadership and strategy, you've been there for a year?
16 months actually.
16 months, fleet and infrastructure, something that I'm really passionate about. When is that wide body freighter coming into your fleet? I think that's the context by which we would like to carry the conversation. And before I get into a very warm welcome to Mumbai and happy to have you.
Thank you, Reji. And look, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having Riyadh Cargo here at the event. It's, as you know, our first public appearance. So, quite an important one for us as well.
Thanks, Pravin. Okay, let's get into vision alignment of Riyadh Cargo's strategy directly into that contributes to Saudi Arabia's target of handling 4.5 million tons of air freight annually by 2030. How do you align the vision of Saudi Arabia with the vision that Riyadh Air is building through Riyadh Cargo?
Look, we're inevitably going to be a key enabler to delivering the ambition. There's absolutely no doubt in our mind that we need to collectively come together towards delivering this for the kingdom. How are we going to do this? Obviously, you're aware we've got 182 aircrafts in order, 122 of those are wide-body aircrafts. And look, all of that really positions us very well to put our best foot forward, do what is required of us in terms of building a carrier with an absolute blank canvas. That's the single biggest advantage we have that we will then try and optimize on to just build something of a very strong foundation that is scalable and that aligns with the ambition and including our own network as our network grows and as more aircrafts come into the fleet.
Thanks. Not that every cargo leader in the world gets a tabula rasa, what you call is the blank slate. And Pravin is fortunate to have that blank slate, and he's just free to paint according to the vision that the company has said and the vision of Saudi Arabia. Great. What caught my attention is that when you unveiled the cargo brand identity for Riyadh Air, I thought probably it could be called Riyadh Air Cargo, but it was positioned and the brand vision was Riyadh Cargo, with strong cargo hubs in Dubai, Doha, Istanbul. What is the unique advantage of Riyadh Cargo that you foresee? And also tell us a story about creating that brand identity called Riyadh Cargo.
Yeah, so there's an interesting story behind it. Look, Riyadh is our home. There's no doubting that. And then I was obviously thinking about when we had these conversations internally, how do we bring the brand to life? I was in a tearing hurry to bring it to life simply because I didn't want a tag that other people had christened us with. Riyadh Air Cargo, as you rightly mentioned, is the easy one. But, Riyadh Cargo, on the other hand, is who we are. Uh, we, in many ways, are saying this is an identity aligned with our home,
Yeah.
which will remain our home for the longest period to come. Um, I do think the brand, in many ways, is also a commitment to just the cargo business at Riyadh Air. Um, the fact that we have unveiled it early in our journey is also about us saying this is a business, this is going to be an integral part of our overall business and an integral part of our overarching strategy at Riyadh Air. It's been pleasing so far, not easy, because as you know, there's no handbook, there's no script to writing the story. In many ways, we're having to create our story from scratch. We're having to do it on the back of ensuring we deliver some of the fundamentals: safety, security, compliance, regulatory compliance, which is a very big yet very underestimated element of our business. And we've had to spend an enormous amount of time in getting this right. We've been laser focused in making sure that we as a team have come together and said, what are the absolute must-haves and what are the elements that we will compromise on upfront to make sure that that foundation is as strong as it can possibly be, thereby also allowing us to scale. Look, anything beyond that, for me to at this point talk about the neighborhood and to talk about our competitors, I think is a bit of a distraction, Reggie.
Okay.
We're so focused on ourselves at the moment and building what we think needs to be a standard that our customers will appreciate. There's another story behind that, because we've got two global customers who, in the background, have been very, very helpful. We've obviously bounced a lot of ideas off them. We've asked them questions about, what do you really want from us? And like I said, we have a blank canvas. We don't have a legacy. We don't need to transform. And that gives us an opportunity that very few have probably had. So in some ways, yes, I'm blessed. But equally, not having a script has been a lot of hard work. I know my team spends an enormous amount of time getting this right upfront and making sure that we get it right consistently.
Yeah, having that blank canvas and writing the original script is extremely, extremely challenging. But I think once you have the script, the fulfillment that you get is phenomenal. So I think that goes without saying. Pravin, fleet strategy. That's what actually excites me. You have a lot of wide bodies coming into your fleet. Uh, Share some concrete timelines. I don't know, but can I ask you concrete timelines or plans for inducting dedicated freighters into Riyadh Cargo's fleet? I know that you don't even have the planes that you've ordered yet to be delivered. Yeah, any specific thoughts on that? Any timelines that you have?
At the moment, Reggie, we're completely focused on the 122 wide bodies, and obviously the narrow bodies create a different kind of value within our cargo world. We're looking forward to having these aircrafts come in first. We're very excited because there are a few that are on the cusp of being delivered to us that will enable us to start flying beyond just Heathrow, where we operate daily. But yesterday we announced Cairo, and Cairo comes after we launch Dubai. So there's a lot of excitement that is built up on the back of obviously our passenger fleet. Look, they're best in class. Brand new 787s, brand new A350s. We have made some choices in the way that the fleet will be kitted out, very specific to temperature maintenance within the holds, and all of that augurs well. I think your question about freighters, so look, we'll keep reviewing our operating model. I think freighters, there will be a time for that conversation, and it'll necessarily be built around demand. What's demand looking like, maturity of not only Riyadh Cargo itself, but also just generally the ecosystem. And while that's not something that we're focused on currently, I could not tell you anything more at this stage because obviously our number one priority is let's bring the passenger wide bodies in. Let's start delivering what our customers want. Let's create that scale in terms of capability, and then we'll see what comes next. But it's always going to remain under review.
Okay, one follow-up question, and that question is to just Pravin Singh, an air cargo industry expert. Do you like freighters?
That's a look. That's a lot of pressure there, Reji. Uh, Calling me an air cargo expert. Yeah, I've been around a while, but this is such a dynamic business, right? It's a business that's just evolving. And if you ask anyone who works with me currently, whether it's directly in the cargo team at Riyadh Air or whether it's just across the business that helps us grow and is part of that growth story at Riyadh Cargo. For us, a lot of this at the moment is about, look, let's do it right. Let's create that foundation. Let's use all the digital capability that is out there. And one of the things that we love to do as a team, well, at least I think we love to do, is because a lot of us are, as you say, industry experts. I say, yes, we have a lot of experience having worked in this industry. We keep asking ourselves the question, just because it's been done this way, is this the best way to do it in the future? And what that's interestingly given rise to is even at this very early stage, we've redefined the way we do some things and the way we're taking it to market, just because we would like to ensure that our customers can self-serve. We would like to ensure that our customers have greater control and transparency, and that we're perhaps omnipresent. And I think some of the technology that's available out there allows us to create some of those platforms. And that's what we're going to continue to focus on very heavily. I'm not avoiding your question about Pravin Singh's love for freighters. I think it serves a purpose, absolutely. Where I used to work before, it obviously, you look at the industry and you look at everything that's going on. Freighters are a complementary tool. And I think in isolation, freighters can very quickly become your best friend or your biggest foe, whichever way the market demand goes.
Yeah, fair enough. Keep contesting the status quo, questioning the status quo. That actually is important. It challenges you to something completely new. You touched upon digital transformation, and my question is that perhaps Riyadh Air and Riyadh Cargo is perhaps the first airline being born, being built, created in the digital age or in artificial intelligence age. Will Riyadh Cargo integrate artificial intelligence into operation, customer service, and predictive logistics? What's the kind of vision that you have in the digital side of cargo business?
Look, our roots as Riyadh Air our roots and our ambition is to be digitally native, right? So as a cargo business, we can't be far removed from that, and we won't be far removed from that. What we have focused on early days is let's make some sensible choices that allow us to keep this business as simple as it can be upfront, but yet ensure effectiveness. I know it's all easier said than done, and it's been our experience certainly, because we constantly fight that what we know. We fight our past and we fight our experience every single day to not fall into that trap of doing it just because that's the only way that we have known. We've chosen some of our partners. So, TCS does a lot of our work, in fact, here in Mumbai. And one of the reasons we chose TCS was because of their commitment to using AI-led tools that actually create far greater efficiency and far greater predictability and consistency to our business. Look, I've always maintained, don't judge an airline when everything goes well. Judge them when something goes wrong. How quickly we recover and how quickly we are able to tackle what has happened but not only tackle it for that isolated incident, but also tackle it in terms of how do we review and fix this for the longer term. There is technology available, but if there's one weakness that we potentially might face is data. For a lot of the technology that's available, you need sound data, you need historical evidence. We don't have that, but we're also taking that and turning that on its head through some of our partners. You look at the choice we've made in terms of our cargo management system. We went with the newest offering that Champ has, right? So we work off a platform called Neo. We knew it was untested, but untested came with the fact that we saw some highly improved UI UX. And one of the statements that I picked up from one of the users we have in our team, which was quite interesting recently, he said, "Look, I've worked on their classic system, and on this one, I don't even need to touch a keyboard to see a booking from start to finish." Now, put that in perspective. If we can get that right and we can get it to scale, that's going to be a massive win for us. We want to effectively do it differently, not because we only want to be different, but because we want our customers to feel that value. We want our customers, like I said, to be able to self-serve. We want to give them greater control and visibility. And all of that's going to come with some of the new age technology that's available out there. So completely committed to it.
Pravin, you mentioned about partnership and you mentioned about TCS and then Champ. So way forward for Riyadh Cargo in terms of collaboration with forwarders, global shippers, integrators, e-commerce players. Anything that you can share in terms of how you want to build that partnership?
We've started well, Reji. So I think gone are the days where airlines say, "Look, we're going to act and perform in isolation." There's a value to partnerships. And obviously, those partnerships need to work for both parties. In fact, you've touched upon something that is very important and very dear to me because it's amongst my top 3 on my wish list in terms of things that I want to deliver. Partnerships is right up there because it serves tremendous value. We have seen evidence of it. As you know, we fly daily to Heathrow. And obviously, what that means is we depend on some of our partners to be able to contribute to us delivering the type of revenue that we have. So in the last 3 months, we've carried circa 2.5 million kilos. Now, I know in the big scheme of things, 2.5 million kilos really doesn't mean a lot. But for us as a startup, operating one service a day, that's a big number because that number has been generated on the back of a great deal of innovation, both by ourselves and by some of our partners that we're working with. And, that's going to continue.
Pravin, how often do you get into the airport to see how the cargo is loaded onto the bellies of that one daily flight to London?
Yeah, so, if you ever talk to me and I have red eyes, it's because I've probably been at the airport late in the night. First day we loaded cargo, there was, I'd literally call it a bit of an emotional attachment. We all went out to look at it. We all went out because, look, this is in many ways the culmination of a lot of work that's gone in. 16 months, I'm cargo employee number 1, and a lot of my colleagues who've joined the team have come after me, and we have worked endlessly to make this happen. So what's it going to take for us to be able to get this right? We will keep focusing on it. And if that means that focus needs to come from ourselves, then we're completely committed to it. We need to do this right for our customers, Reji. We want to create that confidence up front. We want them to see us as a key enabler for them. And that's, really our commitment.
And has this trial run, which I call trial run, it's actually commercial cargo flying on the bellies of the 787 Dreamliner, but is that giving you enough of confidence, enough of strength to build your potential below the wing strategy for belly cargo, and is this exercise since October 2025 validating the belief that you have for the cargo business of Riyadh Air?
Us and our customers both. So I'll answer for us first. We have obviously tested um, endlessly to try and make sure that we get this right up front as a cargo business. If you look at some of the successes we've had, we have carried a lot of temperature controlled cargo in and out of Riyadh. We've carried a lot of different commodity types. So we've had fish, we've had flowers, we've had lots of things that have truly tested us, tested our process, and pleasingly, it's all gone really well. Giving you the customer's perspective, so I've obviously had a few meetings with some key customers, and one of the things that we constantly hear from them is, look, we're seeing a whole different standard in terms of what we're experiencing with you. Now, easier said than done. It's one aircraft. I think that's the foundation that I keep referring to. I feel like we've got that right, but we will get tested as we scale and grow. And everything we do today is now focused on how do we make sure that we have the right ingredients to really align with that scale and with that growth that's coming around the corner.
Does this also give you an opportunity to really build or write the playbook for your resilience in terms of your cargo brand, your cargo business is being born at a time where there is volatility, it's far too many times, disruptions happen, there is volatility in the market, in geopolitics. Are you kind of creating a playbook also how you want to grow this business in times of crisis and be able to be resilient?
I know today it's my job to answer questions and yours to ask, but I have one question for you, Reji. Don't you agree we're truly, as an air cargo industry, don't you agree that we're truly the unsung heroes
Absolutely.
of the supply chain?
Yes.
I don't think we pat ourselves enough on the back about it.
We need a COVID.
Well, every time something significant has happened, it's time for air cargo to stand up. And we do that repeatedly. We do it really, really well as an industry. For us, that's what resilience is about. That playbook exists. Some of us have been part of that already. We know what's required now of us to become resilient. Like I said, we're going to use a host of digital tools to make sure that A, we optimize what we have, but when things fall over, and inevitably they will, that's what we have all experienced, recovery is robust. We're able to get back on our feet quickly. And look, again, I have absolutely no doubt in my mind, amongst the top three things that I keep thinking about, one of them is about being the ambassadors for the kingdom. We need to be that ambassador that stands up and delivers and does what is expected of us in terms of making sure we manage and deliver our customer commitments.
Okay, one question, two more questions that I have. One is about the role, what role will Saudi Arabia's expanding logistics zones and massive airport infrastructure being built and the cargo facilities, how will Riyadh Cargo play a role in this and Riyadh Cargo's growth strategy within the infrastructure development?
We will inevitably be a key enabler, right? There's no doubting that. But also, we're not going to be able to do this alone. Our ecosystem is very robust, very committed to making sure that we have all the tools in our toolkit to be able to deliver what is required in terms of in terms of enabling the delivery of the National Aviation Strategy, the Vision 2030 ambition. As Riyadh Air, we have a stated ambition to operate 200 destinations by 2030. Now, we're not going to be able to do all of that and deliver in isolation. So, what's been very pleasing in my time in Riyadh is how the ecosystem has come together. there is a lot of support beyond just Riyadh Air. You just need to know who to ask, and everybody's been exceptionally welcoming of any support that is needed to be provided. People have stepped up and provided it. What that's also, it's an encouraging sign in many ways, because if you think about it, when you look at what this growth trajectory and what that's going to really represent, I feel like there's a robust support system in place across the airport infrastructure, across the cargo facilities. We've got a dedicated handling facility through our handler SATs, and that in itself is a massive step up, because obviously we want best in class. We want to bring it to life using capability and experience that exists. But equally, every time I found myself wanting or in terms of support, it's a phone call away.
Pravin, your employee number one, Riyadh Cargo, joined in October 2024. What's your leadership style, and what are the top 3 milestones you want to achieve, or you want Riyadh Cargo to achieve by the end of 2026?
Yeah, I think I've covered some of this, Reji. If I think about my top 3 in my personal wish list, including my stated ambition internally. So, number 1, without a doubt, is to be able to create a go-to-market strategy that is very sound. It's built on compliance. It obviously delivers all the requirements for regulatory compliance that our customers want. But most importantly, it's also about doing what our customers want, right? Can we create that confidence up front for them to believe their cargo is in safe hands? And that's the foundation that I keep referring to. We need to create a very sound foundation. The way we've approached it is, we have, in our startup journey, we've obviously focused on, let's get this right before we expand. And I think that's a pretty sound way to do it, because we don't want to necessarily bite off more than we can chew. We want to test it sufficiently before we take it to market and we start to expand. So when we started, we said we would start with just a handful of products and commodities that we would handle. Let's do it right, let's do it well. The second one is really partnerships that we talked about. I think the time to try and do this in isolation is behind us as an industry. Yep. We will compete, and there's no doubt we will compete with a lot of people who are perhaps here in the room, but we will also find ways to obviously collaborate, and that's what's helped us get off the ground. I think if you look at some of the interline structures that we have created up front, that's helped us immensely, as it has helped some of our competitors, I dare say, because we've got an interline agreement that's serving both parties quite well. And then finally, it's about the kingdom's ambition. Look, we're a key part of delivering what the kingdom wants us to deliver. And that's not lost on me, that's not lost on our team, or anyone at Riyadh Air for that matter. We're very committed to doing what is the absolute best and is needed for a period of change and transformation and exceptional growth that the kingdom is seeing. Vision 2030, if you look at the roadmap to it and you look at the stated ambition, there's a lot to be achieved. And we will certainly do our bit to make sure that happens.
Ladies and gentlemen, Pravin Singh, Global Head of Riyadh Cargo. Put your hands together for Pravin. Thanks, Pravin.
Thank you, Reji. Thank you.